Well, welcome to Life Group Leader Training. My name's Josh, and I'm the Tualatin campus pastor, but another role that I have is the Life Group's pastor at our campuses. And we're going to be going through some training today. This is part one of a three-part Life Group Leader Training. Part one, we'll talk about just some overall leader training, and part two, we'll get to some Life Group specific leader training, and then part three is an actual video using the database that we use for tracking all of our Life Group stuff and keeping all your information up to date. We'll spend about 20 or 30 minutes over the course of all three of these videos. Each video will be about 7-ish minutes itself, maybe. But anyways, leaders are important to us. And so I just want to get started with Life Group Leader Training, the first portion of it. This is Horizon Community Church's mission. Our mission here at Horizon is we exist to encourage people to follow Jesus with their whole hearts. And this is done by loving God. It's done by loving others. And it's done by serving the world. And we believe that life is actually better connected. And we believe that there's scriptural support for that. We're designed to do life together. We weren't designed to be alone. You look at the Old Testament when God created Adam and Eve, and he says that it wasn't good for man to be alone. So he made a helper. He made Eve. He realized that it was important for relationship. And then if you just look at Jesus, our Savior, that was a small group model was what he modeled for us. It's how he built his 12 disciples. And so we see life is better connected. We see it in the very beginning. We see it through Christ. Jesus, he didn't have to have 12 guys around him in order to change the world. But what he did was something incredible. He involved others on his journey to help change the world with him. And then we also see it's the primary model of caring for one another and for people at Horizon Community Church, because the realization is that as our church continues to grow, life groups, they provide this opportunity for people, for leaders, for you guys to care for those who are in community around us and care for people in the context of community. And so our vision at Horizon Community Church, our vision for connections is to create and to multiply environments that encourage life change, that encourage service, and that encourage transformation through an authentic connection. And these environments, they're what we would call life groups or our volunteer teams, even at some level. And these connections are primarily done through life groups. But there's moments where we're being the church, where we get to have an opportunity to care for those and look for those in need. And so how do we do this? How do we build connections with people? This is kind of our roster. It's the big vision, if you will, for life groups. And at some level, leadership at Horizon, there's layers here of leadership. And the first piece is a team member, they serve. And then the second level of leadership is an apprentice. An apprentice, they learn. And then a leader, obviously, a leader leads. And lastly, a coach, they multiply. And so there's different ways to serve at Horizon. There's different things that we can do. Being a team member is obviously just being on the team, being on a volunteer team, being part of life groups, leading a life group. It's serving in local projects. It's being on a global team. That's how we serve. But then there's this other role of leadership and apprenticeship. And to get to leadership, it could be a scary step for some people. It could feel like a lot. And so it's why we've created these intermediate steps, if you will, of apprenticeship, because some people feel called to lead, but maybe they don't know how to lead. And so we've got apprenticeship. There's an opportunity for people who are watching to step into this leadership role. And so before jumping to that leader role, we want to help people watch and see and apprentice what it's like. So in the context of life groups, having an apprentice life group leader so that one day they can multiply and launch new groups. And then it's, again, moving from a leader to a coach. Some people feel called to coach and to multiply other leaders. And so we have apprentice coaches to get people moving forward. And this is just kind of our leadership pipeline here at Horizon. So how do I win as a leader? That's a question that sometimes people can ask. And so we want to help you know how you can win as a leader. And we kind of really define a leader as just a champion for community. And so you step into championship, or you step into this leadership role by championing community for others. The short-term win of leadership is to create an environment that encourages life change and transformation and service. That's the short-term win, but there's a longer-term win, and that's to multiply to multiply this environment. It's not just one of those environments, just one of these different environments, but it's an environment that multiplies things. So how do I multiply? Oftentimes, this picture that you're looking at is the initial picture, the initial view that people see as leadership or the covering they have for care. There's a leader and all the members in the group. But look at this picture here as we answer that question, how do I multiply? What if we viewed not as a leader with members or groups, but what if we viewed every member with the potential to embed within them their own leadership? What if we viewed it as our responsibility as leaders to pull out as much potential as possible with those members who are actually potential leaders if we changed our viewpoint within our groups? So we multiply by developing those potential leaders, and the best way that we've seen and the best way that studies show to do this is through on-the-job training. And so how can you invite these potential leaders along in the journey? How can you invite them to take the step to journey with you into a leadership role? And really that's what apprenticeship is really designed to do, to help people take that next step. And so we've got this diagram here on the right that looks at how you can apprentice somebody. And so you start with you're doing and an apprentice is watching, and then you talk about it. And then you transition to you're doing something and an apprentice is helping you do something, and you guys talk about it. And then the apprentice, actually, this is where the shift happens, where the apprentice is actually doing, and you as the leader have stepped back and are just helping. And then you guys talk about it. Give your potential leader and your apprentice some ideas on how they can improve and grow. And then lastly, the apprentice and potential leader is doing, and you're just sitting back and watching, and then you're talking about it before you launch them off. Because we as leaders, we want to see the potential in people. This is a cycle of development. It's how we develop leaders here at Horizon. And so this is just kind of a leadership piece. It's the end of our life group training, if you will. The main thing is leadership it's about championing a community. It's about creating community, and it's also looking for ways to multiply things. So thanks for taking some time to listen. I'm so excited for you and what you're going to do as a leader here at Horizon Community Church.